Hello, my name is Sophie Llewellyn-Smith. I'm a conference interpreter and I started my career at the European Commission in Brussels. And then I turned freelance, and for some years, 10 years actually, I was an interpreter trainer at the University of Leeds. And I'd like to tell you about a project of mine which is called Speechpool, which I began while I was a trainer at the University of Leeds, last summer in fact. The idea of this project is to create a website where students can exchange practice material. And I want to tell you something about the origins of this idea. Every year when I was training students at the University of Leeds, they would say, where can we get hold of good practice material so that we can practice outside of class? And there were plenty of places I could point them to. There were certain websites that were useful. But probably the most useful thing for them, particularly in the beginning stages of the year, was to learn to write good speeches themselves and to give the speeches to each other outside of class and practice in groups. And eventually, with modern technologies, we got to the point where they were recording themselves on dictaphone and then uploading the audio files to a file sharing website, excuse me, so that they can practice and watch those speeches whenever they liked. But there was a nagging irritation about this because they couldn't always get speeches in the right language for their language combination. So for example, we had a lot of British students and they wanted speeches that had actually been delivered by a French native speaker or a Greek native speaker, and they couldn't get hold of them. And it seemed to me that probably students throughout Europe, in fact throughout the world, were all doing the same thing, but separately, in a very fragmented way, which struck me as a waste of expertise and a waste of time. All these students preparing speeches that weren't used by other students. So I thought we should just pool everything together in one mega multilateral, multilingual website so that everybody could benefit from the other students' expertise and knowledge and the speeches that they had prepared. So I dreamt up this project called Speechpool, and I imagined it as a multilingual, collaborative, quite interactive website. I was hoping it would be a place where students could actually communicate with each other and hang out and have some fun, as well as being a place where you went for serious practice. So I started working on it last summer, having in mind as my target audience, first of all, students, but actually it seemed to me that it would probably be a very useful resource for people who had already graduated but still needed to work on some of their interpreting skills, or perhaps for people who were hoping to add another language to their language combination. And I even thought further than that, because I have megalomaniac tendencies, and so I began to think about language learners who might be interested in authentic original material, or the whole public service interpreting community, which as conference interpreters we tend to forget sometimes. But in many countries, public service interpreting makes up a very large part of the interpreting market. And often these are people who don't have access to good quality training material or who don't have a lot of training. So that was my thinking. Of course, I couldn't build the website myself because I don't know anything about developing a website. And luckily, I have somebody called Matt Clark at the University of Leeds who's in charge of all that. And he's been fantastic because he's not an interpreter. So what happens is I get together with him, or we talk on Skype now that I'm not at Leeds, and I say, right, I've had this idea. I want to do this. And then he looks at me and goes, I'm sure there's a way to do that. I'll get back to you. And some weeks later, he finds a way to do it. And he's been very good at putting into practice my sometimes slightly crazy ideas. So now I'd like to tell you how far we've got with this project. I said it's called Speechpool, and the website name is www.speechpool.net. So it should be easy to find. At the moment, the English version of the site is already there. It's online, it's publicly accessible. So if you enter into the address bar speechpool.net, you should find it. You'll also find that there's a Greek version there. There's a little Greek flag, and you can go and visit the Greek site, which is all written in Greek. By next week, there'll be a German version. And then we'll be rolling out almost any conceivable language that you can imagine if I have managed to beg, borrow or steal expertise from people who have translated the website content for me for free. Thank you, students and alumni throughout Europe and the world, for doing that. So that after the English, Greek and German, I expect we'll have Italian, Spanish and French pretty soon. And after that, the world is nearly our oyster, because in the pipeline I've got Macedonian, Russian, Chinese, Japanese, Icelandic, hopefully there'll be Turkish, but also all of the European languages, bar a few. Haven't managed to get Swedish, Finnish and Maltese yet, but I'm sure I will. So I'd like to tell you about some of the features of Speechpool now that perhaps distinguish it from other data banks of speeches that are out there on the internet. Broadly speaking, I would say that you can distinguish two big groups of databases of speeches that are available on the internet now. You have the ones that have been set up by students themselves, the kind of thing that I told you about earlier. They tend to be audio material, and also they tend to be very limited in scope, and also they don't last long, because when that year group has graduated, typically the person who was responsible for that group goes off to do other things and the group dies. So that's one type of data bank or speech bank, and the advantage I hope of Speechpool over that is that it will be much broader in scope and ambition. It will cover a lot more languages. Hopefully it will have a rapid turnover of speeches, so there'll always be new material on there, and it will be a lasting resource. And then you have other types of speech banks, which are, for example, recordings of politicians or recordings of speeches. You can find speeches on YouTube. The disadvantage there sometimes is that that material hasn't been designed as pedagogical material for interpreter training. So it might be brilliant to practice with, or it might not. And I hope that the advantage of Speechpool will be that the speeches are designed by interpreters or by interpreting students to practice certain aspects of interpreting. And what I like about the Speechpool idea, which again is unlike some databases out there, is that it should be student-led. The idea is that it'll be by students for students, or at least by interpreters for interpreters, as a very collaborative thing. It won't be created by an outside authority, and nor will there be a grading of the difficulty of the speeches by an outside authority. Which brings me on to some more features of the site, because what I wanted to do was let users of the site decide how hard they thought the speeches were. It's a bit like TripAdvisor, you know, where you see the star rating, 5 stars, 1 star, but instead of being a like or dislike for the speech, it's going to be perceived difficulty. So you could grade it 1 star if you thought it was very easy, 5 stars if you think it's ridiculously difficult. And then we'll end up with a cumulative vote, if you like, on the difficulty of each speech. So that's one feature that I think is quite fun. I said that I wanted it to be an interactive and a collaborative space. So we've made it possible for people to view speeches and then leave a comment. It's a classic thing that you can do. And we've also created a Facebook page for Speechpool where you could, for example, go and ask for a specific speech. So you could go to the Facebook page and say, please could somebody upload a speech in German about the renewable energy law, let's say. And with a bit of luck, if you have a big enough community of users, somebody will altruistically volunteer to do that for you. So fingers crossed that will work quite well. Other features I wanted to talk about were searching. How can you search for a speech? I should say, first of all, that the languages will be hosted in all the parallel versions. So the English speeches will be on the English site, the German speeches on the German parallel site, etc. And to search for a speech, you will be able to search by topic area. We've set broad topic areas, but also by keyword. So you should be able to narrow down your search significantly. And if there's something very specific that you're looking for, you can search by keyword, feminism, I don't know what. Maybe a speech will come up, maybe not. It depends what people have uploaded. A word about quality First of all, technical quality, and then quality of content. Technical quality, these are video files that we're talking about. Now, we've tried to make the website as easy to use as possible so that people can record themselves at home on a laptop or on an iPad, on a mobile phone if the sound quality is good enough. And then what you need to do is upload the file to YouTube. The reason that we've done that is because if we hosted all the video files on the Speechpool website, it would crumble. All these files would be enormous and we could never host so many. So we've had to go via the intermediary of YouTube, which isn't necessarily a privacy issue, because on YouTube you can change the settings to make the speeches unlisted so that they're invisible to the outside world, but they're still usable on the Speechpool website. Now, we're never going to get perfect image quality or sound quality by doing this, because it's a do-it-yourself system. But in my experience, students or people who want to practice their interpreting are willing to accept a lowering of the quality, technically speaking, in order to have access to that practice material. So I hope that that will be the case, and also that people will do their best to find the right software and make sure that the sound levels are high enough. So that's on the technical side of quality management. What about the actual content? What if people start uploading rubbish speeches, very poorly designed speeches, spam? Who knows what could happen? And I have to say that I've seen a Yahoo group which was designed for interpreting students, which seems to have been completely overtaken by spam messages. So we've set up some safety features to try to make sure that we avoid spam. One of the things we've done is to make it compulsory for people to register and to get permission to upload speeches, because I wanted to make sure that the speeches were being uploaded by people who are basically trained public speakers. In other words, students of interpreting or practicing interpreters. So you'll need to send me an email, or send Speechpool an email and say, please can I upload speeches? I am currently at the University of what have you. But we've also put something for users to comment on quality. So if you view a video clip, underneath it you'll find a big red button that says Quality Alert. And if you click on that button, because the speech is very poor quality technically, you can't hear it properly, or because you think it's just the inane ramblings of some nutter, then you just click Quality Alert and that will send an email automatically to the website administrators, and then we can delete the speech and get rid of it off the system. So we've tried to do our best to ensure good quality, but again, inevitably there are concessions to be made there, because this is a cheap system. There aren't many people working on it, and it's not going to cost thousands of euros to maintain. But when you have something that doesn't cost a lot of money, then inevitably you have to make some concessions. I am reaching a close here. What I can tell you is how you can join in. If you'd like to help me translate into other languages, get in touch. Just go to the website and go to the contact form, contact us. If you want to view speeches, register on the site. The English is already there, the Greek is already there. And I hope that you will be altruistic and contribute to this project, because it's only going to work if people upload speeches. It's no good if everybody wants to watch speeches. Somebody has to be uploading the speeches as well. So I hope that you will maybe not be altruistic, but see this as enlightened self-interest. That if you join in, the website will survive and you will contribute to creating a community of interpreters, I hope, and breaking down barriers. So thank you, and see you on speechpool.net.